Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals versus Green Bay Packers Week 3 matchup based on analytics. As you may or may not know, each week I collect all the current 2017 NFL data in order to analyze and project potential NFL performance. And we're 2 weeks into the season, so it's not the biggest sample size ever. However, there will always be little nuggets of truth in every sample of data that you see. And it's just a matter if those little nuggets become bigger nuggets as the season goes on. So we're basically tracking how well these teams perform in terms of various statistics, various metrics, through 2 weeks worth of data, and come to some sort of conclusions about what the game might be like based on how they performed in the last 2 weeks. And again, as the season goes on, things are going to get more interesting in terms of figuring out team weaknesses, what they're good at, what they're bad at, all those other kind of things, in terms of as more data comes in. So, and again, if you are new to this channel, all terms and definitions will be in the description, and you can just, anything that I talk about that you're not familiar with, just go to the description. All the terms will be right there. So, starting with the basics of this matchup. So the NFL stat basics are just looking at the general sort of basic stat data in terms of offense's ability to create first downs, prevent first downs, turnover ratio, sack percentage in terms of offense, and of course defense, the ability to score on offense, the ability, the defensive elements of this, and all this other kind of stuff. So, and also special teams as well. So when you look at this matchup, it favors the Green Bay Packers. The Packers got hurt a lot from the last week against the Falcons. They had a very strong start, and then the Falcons kind of messed them up a little bit in terms of the thing. And no doubt, they had a lot of injuries. David Bakhtiari and Brian Bulaga were out for that game, so that definitely had an effect on things. On top of just some of the same sort of just inefficient, just lots of stuff to kind of consider. So let's unpack some of this stuff. So when it comes to this particular matchup, one thing I think you cannot discount is the Bengals defense has been very good this season. The offense just has not been able to put up points. I mean, and that's the bottom line. So as much as people might say that this is easy win for the Packers, and no doubt I think that based on the data, again, the data favors the Packers going into this game because of just how poor the Cincinnati Bengals offense has been. However, you cannot discount how well this Bengals defense has been playing. It's been one of the better teams in the NFL when it comes to preventing first downs on defense in terms of every single facet of the team, against the Ravens, against the Texans. Again, nobody has respect for the Texans offense. I get that, but they did do very well against the Ravens defense at least. So this will be very much a test game for this defense. Put up or shut up, see if they can continue this level of defensive play. But based on paper, they do have a lot of talent. This Bengals defense is not devoid of talent. This Bengals defense has been playing as well as it possibly can to try to win football games. It's just the offense can't put up points. And will that change this week? We'll see. They did fire their offensive coordinator and bring in Bill Lazor to take over the duties as offensive coordinator. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in this particular game, but they can improve on things. But when you look at the other side of things, the Green Bay Packers, their defense has not been the best. They've been about average when it comes to preventing first downs, but they have been above average when it comes to creating first downs with the offense. And that is another reason why the Packers are overwhelmingly favored when it comes to first down data. When it comes to offensive and defensive first down data, the Packers overall are just favored because of that. Because the Bengals are pretty much one of the worst, if not the worst, offense when it comes to creating first downs. And that also leads to some other sort of areas. When it comes to turnovers, surprisingly, the Packers have had a lot of turnovers this year on offense. Compared to the rest of the NFL. So that's definitely somewhat of a weakness for the Packers, but the Bengals have been turning the football over even more. So it might be a crazy back and forth kind of turnover game, where the Bengals are turning the football over and the Packers are turning the football over. So it might be a crazy game from that kind of standpoint. Then when you look at sack percentage, the Packers as well have been kind of below average when it comes to sack percentage in terms of allowing sacks as a team. So that's definitely sort of a thing to kind of worry about in this game. But the Bengals have been worse in terms of allowing sacks. So I think you're seeing a theme here. And then when you look at the Packers offense, they've been above average when it comes to getting scores per drive. OSC percentage is basically offensive score percentage, so how many drives lead to points. And the Packers have been above average, but they have not exactly been elite in terms of that particular area. Then when you look at the defensive side of the ball, the Bengals have been very good at preventing points from being made on offensive drives, but the Packers have not been performing that well in terms of that particular metric. Both these defenses have not really done well in terms of the turnover department. So the Bengals are really doing well when it comes to efficiency, but not so well when it comes to getting turnovers. In terms of sack percentage, both these teams are doing exceptionally well when it comes to getting the quarterback and sacking the quarterback over the last 2 weeks. And interceptions kind of favors the Bengals slightly. So essentially you have two teams that are very good at sacking the quarterback, but not very good in terms of creating turnovers, with the exception of the Bengals, who've just had a little bit better in terms of interception percentage. Now when we get to special teams, the Bengals are doing pretty well in terms of special teams as well. Punt returns is pretty good compared to the Packers that have not been doing too well in terms of punt return yardage. Kick return yardage is also in favor of the Bengals overall. Defensively, the Packers and the Bengals are pretty much dead even when it comes to preventing punt return yardage, but the Bengals are better when it comes to kick return yardage overall. Field goal percentage is pretty much the same between both these teams. Extra point percentage is just not very good for the Bengals because they haven't had any extra points because they haven't scored a touchdown. And then when you look at punting average, that favors the Bengals as well. Overall, though, I'd give the special teams advantage over the last 2 weeks to the Bengals. They've just been able to create more yardage with punt returns, more yardage with kick returns, and also punting average. So field position wise, the Bengals have been playing pretty decent. It's just the offense can't put up points, and it's been turning the football over. It's been doing a lot of different stuff like that, which is a problem. So let's dive a little bit deeper into completion percentage, rushing offense versus rushing defense, and some other kind of stuff like that. So, but basic takeaways again is that the Packers are pretty much favored in terms of all the basic sort of NFL data stuff. When you look at passing completion percentage between the Packers offense and the Bengals defense, the Bengals have an advantage when it comes to first downs and third downs when it comes to completion percentage. The Bengals have been one of the better teams when it comes to preventing completions on third down, and first down is a little bit of a toss-up, but the Packers do have an advantage when it comes to second down situations. I would definitely give this one to the Bengals, though, in terms of preventing completions overall. But it is something that we'll see. This is a big test for the Bengals, of course, because this is probably the best offense that they've been up against up to this point. So this is definitely sort of an interesting matchup to kind of see how they perform against the Packers. And then when we look at the Bengals offense versus the Green Bay Packers defense when it comes to completion percentage, the Bengals offense is just terrible. The Packers pretty much beat them in terms of first down situations, second down situations, and third down situations. So pretty easy Packers defense win when it comes to completion percentage data. Then we will look at rushing. So this is basically the offense's ability to get first downs with the rush. And when you look at the Packers offense versus the Bengals defense in terms of this particular area, the Bengals defense beats the Packers when it comes to first down situations, but the Packers do have the advantage when it comes to second down situations and third down situations. So overall, this is where the advantage is, in terms of them. So the Packers, I don't think will have too much trouble running the football against the Bengals if they decide to do that, even though it is a pass-centered team. So this kind of favors the Packers in terms of rushing. And then when you look at the Bengals offense versus the Packers defense when it comes to running the football, the Bengals have an advantage when it comes to first down situations and third down situations, but second down situations, it disproportionately favors the Packers defense. I would still give the win slightly to the Bengals. I think, again, most rushing attempts and downs are on first down, and the Bengals have, they're a little bit better. They perform a little bit better compared to the Packers defense, and also third down, which is a crucial situation. the Bengals have been performing better than the Packers in terms of that particular metric. So I'll give the Bengals, the rushing offense the advantage, even though the second down sort of area is so much better for the Packers. But that's definitely, something to look at and another sort of matchup to keep in mind. And then we would look at the passing. So we're looking at the ability to create first downs with the pass. So when you look at the Packers offense versus the Bengals defense in terms of this particular area, the Bengals defense is just better when it comes to first and second down, but the Packers are better in terms of third down. So this is going to be an interesting sort of matchup overall. The Packers have just not, for whatever reason, they just have not been able to make the most explosive plays. And by explosive, I mean, getting a first down on first down, getting a first down on second down, really big plays, kind of catching you off guard sort of thing. So this type of pattern that I'm seeing right here is a pattern of, kind of like a screen pass or a short pass, and then maybe a run, and then third down they get a easy completion in terms of a third and short kind of situation, or that sort of thing. So which disproportionately they've had a ton of success in terms of 3rd and 1 to 4 in particular, just to point that out. So yeah, this is kind of interesting in terms of the matchup. Again, this favors the Bengals defense. Basically the Bengals defense, based on how they performed in the last 2 weeks, could have a situation where they kind of force the Packers into a 3rd and long situation, which is where the Packers, when you look at 3rd and 7 and 9, the Packers do have an advantage, but when you look at 3rd and 10, the Bengals actually have the advantage in terms of 3rd and 10 situations. So this is definitely something to kind of look at in this game in terms of how it develops, is that if the Bengals can get the Packers into 3rd and 10 situations, 3rd and long situations, then the Bengals actually have somewhat of an advantage in terms of that particular area of the football field, which is why they've been so good in terms of that sort of area. And then when we look at the next sort of matchup, so this is looking at the Cincinnati Bengals offense versus the Green Bay Packers defense. The Packers defense pretty much beats the Bengals in terms of every single area, whether it's first down, second down, or third down. And the Packers defense, in terms of the passing defense, has not been the best defense, in terms of preventing first downs over the last 2 weeks. So even despite that, they still have advantages against the Bengals. So this is definitely something where, again, it's really dependent on how well the Bengals offense does. If the Bengals can't score a touchdown this week, which is very possible, by the way, based on how they played in the last 2 weeks, then they're not going to win this football game. But overall, how would I see these? How do I see these matchups? I think this matchup definitely favors the Packers. This is the offense that's been able to put up points. This is an offense that's been able to do stuff. The defense has had some struggles against certain areas. There is a slight blueprint to beat them, in that if you force the Packers into 3rd and long situations, and you have an offense that actually puts up points, which they have not do. The Bengals have failed to do that in the last 2 weeks. But if they somehow get an offense that can actually put up points, this could be interesting. But because of that lack of information, because that hasn't happened, I still got to go Packers here. So, of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well if anybody that you know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.